What up, what up? Welcome to the Couch Time Podcast, where we give you tools to connect with your kids and point them to Jesus. I'm Stephen Petrie, and I'm here with Ryan Conlon from the Florence campus and a very special guest, Miss Abbey Owens. She is one of the volunteer leaders for high school girls at Independence, as well as the Independence campus admin. Just took that position recently, so we're glad to have her on the staff team, but also she's been serving in student ministry for a long time, and we thought it'd be really helpful. The next couple weeks, we're going to do this little series with volunteers from our different student ministries at the different campuses to just kind of hear their hearts for your students. Get to get a little background into the people that are working with your kids, the mindset, the heart, their relationship with Christ, different things so that you would feel comfortable. You get to know our ministry better. You get to hear from us a lot, but we are honestly like one of the minor voices probably talking into the lives of your kids. We also have teams of volunteers that are leading them regularly every single Sunday night. That'd be awesome for you to hear from. So that's basically what we're going to do today. So we're going to chit-chat with Abbey Owens, and if you like anything that she has to say, send her a message and say that she's awesome, because she is. Abbey, I'm getting too close to the mic. Abbey, how long have you been serving in student ministry? Because you are probably one of the longer tenured leaders at Grace, I'd imagine. Close.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you
crazy.
Probably beat by a few, but not many.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing student ministry for, I think this is going on my fourth year.
Is that it? Never mind.
Hold
I
on.
take it back. Maybe she's not.
Who is the longest?
I don't
Do you know?
You've been at Independence for ever since I've been there, so that's like 3 years. And you're
Okay,
at
so
Florence
this is my fourth year.
Okay.
This is my fourth year then. So yeah, I started at Florence. I led there for a year. I started at Challenge that year. So I led through that school year and then switched to Independence the following year. And I've been there since, so 3 years at Independence.
How did you first decide to get into student ministry?
When I was going through student ministry, I had leaders that poured into me super well. In my senior year of high school, she allowed us to actually take leadership and would let us lead every once in a while if we wanted to. And at first I was so nervous. I did not want to do it. I was terrified. And then after doing it, I was like, wow, I love this. I could do this all the time. And so then when I graduated, I took a year off, and then I just after that year, I was like, wow, I could go back and do this. And so I was like, you know what? It's a perfect way to pour into people, serve. And so I did it. So now I'm here.
I actually did not know you were Florence leader. I'm learning the history.
Was.
Okay, good.
I started there.
Man, okay. It's the beauty
She was one of the first recruits. Transferred quickly.
I love it. That's great. So what is your favorite part of being a student ministry volunteer?
Really getting to hang out with high school girls. Mm-hmm. This year especially, I have a lot of girls who I'm really close to. And my favorite thing ever is when one of them was like, I don't know if this is weird, but you're my best friend. And I was like, I'll take it.
Awesome.
And so I think that just getting to pour into them and hear their hearts and go through all the drama with them, I think it's fun. So.
This is a random question. Because I think Stephen's right. You guys as volunteers, more so than us, are boots on the ground with students. And so I'm curious, with your girls in Independence, what are some of the things that they're working through the most or even struggling with, either in their day-to-day lives or even just spiritually? Does that make sense? That's intentionally broad. It can go wherever it wants. But I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you're good. A lot of what the girls I'm close to, I tend to deal with relationship advice a lot. Try to make them stay away from those boys. So that's my big thing. Also relationship with parents is another big topic that we talk about. Spiritually, I think a lot of our girls and probably boys just growing up in the church and just being expected to know the Lord, and just everyone believes that they're just saved automatically because you were raised in the church and you know the answers. So just kind of hearing their heart behind well, I actually don't know where I stand, or just them struggling through well, I still am struggling in this. And it's well, have you given your life to the Lord? And just walking them through do you actually know what that means, or are you not actually saved? And then let's talk through it and figure it out. So I'd say those are the big things I deal with high school girls.
I will say that. So last night at student ministry, I accidentally stumbled upon something. It's along the lines that you were speaking of. It was the best small groups we've had, and the talk was on essentially the difference between being a believer and being a disciple. As a believer, of like, you can be saved and not be actively being a follower, an apprentice, a disciple of Jesus. Of like, okay, what's the difference? And that like opened up this world.
Yeah.
Sort of to what you were speaking of, like with high school girls, of like, I know, like I believe in Jesus, but where do I stand with God? What does that actually look like in the day to day?
Right.
Is a big thing.
What has been your favorite experience as a Grace Students leader?
I can share my perception of you. You
Go
seem
for
to
it.
go hard in the paint for summer camp.
Oh, for sure.
Love summer camp, right?
I love it. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Actually, that was going to be my answer.
Yeah.
Dude.
Is that bad? Okay.
Stole the thunder.
That's-
Nailed it, though.
I'm gonna be
You knew
done
it.
now. Okay.
No. You got it.
I was impressed with you at summer camp.
Thank you.
Girls always around you, bringing the energy. Love it. That's
It's a
an
whole new
exhausting
level.
week, so.
It's a whole new level at camp.
What do you feel is one of the challenging aspects of being a volunteer leader? So what do you find most challenging, difficult? What weighs you down? What is hard?
Balancing work, life, and ministry, I think, is the hardest thing for me. I want to invest fully in my girls and spend a lot of time with them. I want to be all of their best friends. But at the same time, I also have a life. I'm also working 40 hours a week, and I also want to spend time with my friends and my family. And so my biggest balance is just balancing that out of what is good to put myself out there enough to like invest in these girls, but also like enough to take care of myself and what I'm doing as well. So that's my hardest thing.
What drew you to coming to Independence? So as an Independence leader at the Independence campus, for our Independence parents, why'd you come over to the Good Indo?
Well, it was really hard to leave Florence. I loved Ryan Foltz, and I loved the leaders that were there.
I miss you, dude.
I really loved being there, but I was only a year invested, so it felt like, one, it was a good time to leave and don't stay longer, get more invested here, and then leave. And something just drew me to, like, it's new, it's exciting. At the time, there was no leaders, and so I wanted to kind of be a part of something new and exciting and fresh. And so I also had some girls in my group that were going to be switching over. So it was also easier to be like, oh, well, cool. Like I felt terrible leaving the other girls behind, but it was like, well, at least I have some coming with me. And so I just wanted to see what something new could do.
Why in your mind is student ministry important? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that student ministry is important for a couple different things. Students, I feel like they feel closer to leaders versus their parents, maybe like more open to speaking about harder situations that they're going through. I mean, I always encourage my girls when they tell me something hard, like, you need to tell your parents this, but the first step is like they feel comfortable enough to tell another adult that that's something they're struggling with. So I think that that's really important just for them. And just to like get to see what life looks like for a believer and how it does look different when you're discipling and when you're going out into the real world and showing Jesus. I think that that's like a good way to be an example to high schoolers.
Yep.
So I think those are like two good reasons that student ministry is good.
Yeah, I like that. And even just from your perspective as a leader, I think it's helpful for middle school and high school students to not just have their parents as an example, but to have people like you as an example in their life of like, oh, this isn't just my parents' faith.
Right.
Other people I look up to love Jesus and follow him as well.
Exactly.
And so when you have both parents and leaders like yourself doing that, that's very powerful and inspirational and aspirational in terms of like, I want to be like Abby. Maybe I'll be a volunteer when I graduate as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's disciples making disciples.
Exactly.
So, the dream.
What has been rewarding as a student ministry volunteer, or has been like, makes you feel like this is worth it, or I'm being a part of God's plan. I'm doing something with purpose. Like, what has been rewarding?
I mean, seeing girls come to Christ is like the biggest thing. Last semester, I had one of my girls call me, and she was crying, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "Abby, like, the Lord has opened my eyes. Like, I know that, like, this is where, like I'm supposed to be. This is what I believe. And like I just got to pray with her and walk her through that and really make sure that that's what her heart was, like where her heart was at and stuff. And it was just really rewarding to be like, wow, like I actually got to see a finished piece, even though I didn't have to. Like God didn't have to bless me with that. Like she could have given her life to Christ and I didn't even know. And like then I would just find out later on. And so it was just really rewarding to be a part of something like that. And I mean, I've seen that happen a couple times, but that was the one I was a part of, which was cool.
Any advice? I always feel weird because it's like none of us here are parents. So it's like I rarely feel like I'm at a place of like giving advice to parents. But any thoughts, wisdom, advice for parents of like how they can encourage their kids of like in their walk with Jesus?
I think be open to hearing whatever they're going to say. I think we live in a generation and a time where kids can say crazy things that we're not expecting. And as a parent, that can be hard to respond in love right away. But I have a lot of girls who will talk about the reason they don't talk to their parents or the reason they don't say things is like, well, my parents are just going to be mad or they're not going to understand. And so, you know, just kind of as a parent, when you hear hard things, take it lightly, love them. And obviously there is time to correct and talk through things, but when they have the courage to speak in the first place, like just listen to them, hear them out, and then, correct later.
Yep. Yeah. I would say that's really, like, we talk about that on the podcast, I feel like a lot. Like, that's probably one of the main things we discuss is that it is terrifying to not know what your kid is doing, what your kid is up to, who their friends are, what their friends are saying to them, what things they're watching, who's influencing their life. So like, and then so when you hear kids say something that's like shocking, it's really hard not to just be really, really shocked and freak out and either be upset or angry or like all those emotions, sad, come in. Like, but yeah, it's crucial to be able to show yourself as someone that a student can come to and that your kid can trust you and they can. And kid being able to trust you doesn't mean like, oh, you're going to agree and let them do whatever they want. Right. But it's like, when I open up, how do they respond? What is their heart? What is their position, their posture towards me? Is it one of love, understanding, seeking to know me better, seeking to hear out my heart? Or is it just like stone walls against like anything different than what my parents believe? And as leaders, for some reason, kids often feel more comfortable to talk to us, I guess, but that's just people with their parents in general. So then when we encourage them to go talk to their parents, it's like, that's hard and it's scary for them. And it's hard and scary for you as well. And you have to just be patient and trust the Lord in those times for sure. It's difficult.
It's possible too. Like I've had students tell me something heavy or hard before and be like, oh my gosh, have you told your parents? And they're like, yeah. Yes.
That's a win.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Good job at your parents. So it is possible. And it starts with the small things and builds up to the bigger things as well. So, okay, let's, last thing, unless you have, but just for the parents listening, any ways that they can be praying for you specifically as a leader?
Just kind of back to my challenging thing with student ministry of just balancing all of the things in life. That's just like my biggest struggle and like finding rest as well in that. Just because it's like, I don't want to get burnt out. I don't want to get like tired of doing it. And I haven't so far, but just trying to balance everything. And I go through seasons when there's a change in job or a change in what I'm doing, or like when I graduated from school, like everything looks different with the different stages. So every single semester it feels like I'm like relearning what life looks like. So I know that this is just the beginning of a new job, and that's why it's like more like harder right now. But just pray that I can learn to balance it well and not get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope that for parents, as you listen this week, next week, however many times we do this, you'd see that, there's some really awesome people like loving and encouraging your kids, and they're dealing with very, very hard conversations often. Like the conversations that our leaders are having with kids are challenging, difficult, they're weighty, because we're dealing with broken people like us, and broken people like us have broken things that they're struggling with, baggage they're carrying in. And our leaders are on like the front lines of handling those conversations and trying to help and love and disciple and direct them towards godliness, while all of us are still trying to figure that out for our own lives as well. It's like we're not like that all that special compared to them. Like we're still broken, sinful believers that are following Christ, trying to give advice from what the Lord's shown us. So, be thankful for our leaders, be thankful, be praying for them, love on them, because they really are pouring themselves out often for your kids and for the church as a whole, that your children hopefully would come to know Jesus and be faithful followers as you love and disciple them, as we try to come alongside and partner and encourage you all. Your leaders, our leaders are doing the same thing. So while we may be the face that you see often, like I said, there's so many other people that are investing and loving on them, and be praying for them, please. So, yeah.
Amen.
We'll close it. So come back next week to hear from a Florence volunteer and get to hear maybe a unique perspective from that angle. And we'll be excited to talk with you all then. So we love you. We're praying for you.
Hey, thanks for watching.
You can follow us on Instagram at the Couch Time Podcast.
Let us know what you thought about the podcast. Also, let us know if there's any topics or things you'd like us to cover. You can comment and email us at podcast@graceky.org.
Please like, subscribe, and share the video with other parents.